Hey everyone, welcome to the Flying Fluffy Football live stream where I will be here for the next hour and a half or so talking about whatever Dolphins and NFL related news I can garner. So there is a bit of rumor and speculation going on right now, but nothing has been confirmed. Give me a second. Here we go. Nothing has been confirmed, but it has been speculated that there was a report from a local podcaster down in Miami that Asante Samuel Jr. was visiting the Dolphins, but apparently several beat writers have since come out to say that they have not seen Asante Samuel Jr. at all at the Dolphins facilities today, and that thus the reports would be untrue. Basically, from what I can gather, it was one local podcaster who broke the news of Asante Samuel Jr. being at the Dolphins facility today, and the rest of the the national beat writers, guys like Joe Shad, instantly basically denied that that was what was happening. But the original guy still stands by his report. So he claims he wasn't just putting out misinformation for clicks. So either it's the beat writers that are wrong, or this guy who broke the story is so wrong he's unwilling to admit it. There is a piece of Dolphins news that can be confirmed, is that Matthew Judon has now joined the Miami Dolphins on a one-year contract that is worth up to $6 million when you include incentives. So he joins a linebacker room that includes guys like Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, both of whom are coming back from massive injuries. So the Dolphins' philosophy apparently has become you cannot have too many linebackers. You cannot have too many pass rushers. So yeah, it was Bobby Shouse. Is that how you pronounce that name? Bobbyshouse, the host of the Dive Bar podcast, who set things into motion today by posting on Twitter that Asante Samuel was visiting the today. Give me 1 second. So I will just keep an eye on the social media here I will just keep an eye on the social media in case anything else should change. Hey, spaceman, how you doing? So, so Bobby Schuss, he said he stands by his original report. He doesn't do this for clicks, so if it ends up being wrong, he'll be okay. Not his first rodeo. Yes, so Matthew Judon joins the Dolphins, adding another body to the locker room. Apparently, apparently one person claims that Asante Samuel has been in LA the entire day. He's been posting on his Snapchat story. He's literally at a practice field in San Diego right now. Spaceman says, I see you're taking an eye on the football channel while Jaws is on the hockey channel. Yeah, that's correct. I've essentially I've essentially been relegated to the football channel, which is honestly where I think I'm better qualified or better suited, I should say, to pay attention to all the football news. Daniel Jones has been named the Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback, so that is who the Dolphins' new look defense will be up against. That is who the Dolphins will be playing against in Week 1. So so seeing as there is no completely confirmed report about any cornerback visiting the Dolphins facility today, let alone Asante Samuel Jr. Asante Samuel Jr., by the way, his dad talked a lot of trash about the Dolphins not too long ago, saying stuff like the only reason that the Dolphins had to trade Jalen Ramsey is because they're soft. McDaniel's a pushover. Greer has no backbone. They run the team like a little league team. They are afraid of their own players. They let the players be in charge of the team. So Pacharo says Asante Samuel Sr. did talk positive weeks later about Miami. Way, one other piece of Dolphins related news. The Dolphins have released punter Ryan Stonehouse. Jake Bailey has won the starting job in Miami. So apparently, defensive coach, or should I say defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver really likes having Matthew Judon as part of the defense, and I'm sure it can't hurt to have another linebacker. It cannot hurt to have another linebacker in the room. Colin says, "What's your favorite version of the Dolphin logo? You like the one from the early 2000s?" Yep, I like the one from the early 2000s too. Well, this is the one I grew up with. This one seems like more of a logical evolution of the original Dolphins logo than this. So there's absolutely no there's absolutely no concrete news about what happened with Asante Samuel Jr. He may not have intended to visit the Dolphins today at all, which would probably put it would make Bobby Schos look like a pretty big idiot if it turns out that his reporting was wrong. Or there's the opposite outcome where it would be beat writers who immediately piled on to disprove Bobby Schus's claims. It would be the egg instead if it turns out Asante really was visiting the Dolphins. So if you had to guess, is it the Dolphins' intention to actually go out and sign a free agent cornerback like Asante Samuel or Rasul Douglas, who is still a free agent? Apparently, Asante Samuel Jr. was awaiting word from his doctors to clear him for play, given the severe neck injury he had suffered, I believe, last season. Of course, this clearing from the doctors was supposed to take place apparently back in July. But yeah, there's not really much else. There's not really much else going on besides every Dolphins fan wondering if they're actually going to sign anyone to be a corner. Because need I remind you, right now, the ESPN depth chart lists our starting corners in the base 4-3 defense as Kendall Sheffield, Storm Duck, and Mike Hilton. I don't know about you, but I think the Dolphins could use one veteran corner to give them anything resembling leadership for the anything giving them leadership. Of course, ESPN is so far behind that they have Ryan Stonehouse listed as the punter instead of Jake Bailey. Stonehouse has been cut by the Dolphins. Jake Bailey won that competition. Colin says, my assumption is that the Finns like what they have at the cornerback position. They do show a real interest in adding depth to that. They don't show a real interest in adding depth to that position. Well, last year, Greer was literally quoted as saying that the fans were more concerned about the offensive line than the team was. And you saw how that played out. One of the worst offensive lines in the league, not being able to run the ball in any short yardage situations. You remember that? There's a reason why they drafted that Zavaina guy. And why they actually paid to move up to make sure they got Zavaina in the second round. Because the offensive line needed to be something above the tier of hot garbage. And Liam Eichenberg needed to be relegated to a backup as soon as possible. Apparently, Ollie Gordon has been averaging 4.06 yards after contact per carry in these preseason games. And let me just share the screen real quick, and I'll just play you some Ollie Gordon highlights I just came across, because yeah. So these are all Ollie Gordon runs against the Lions.
3rd and 2, flip it for
or should I say they are Ollie Gordon highlights,
and he is. Tony, it looks like you got a lot of field to go,
including the reception.
The rookie out of Texas.
See, that's the ability to maneuver past defenders.
Myrick, the tight end, the motion man, clearing space. Ollie Gordon.
We actually have an offensive line that can block. Ollie Gordon, in my opinion, should be second on the depth chart.
Everything kind of back where your buddies are going to be.
I have not heard of Jalen Wright doing anything spectacular.
He is. Tony, it looks like you got a lot of field to go.
Colin says, well, at least O-line is not as bad as the Bengals O-line. I saw a funny low light from the game yesterday. I believe the Bengals gave up a four-play, 74-yard touchdown drive. And this was the Bengals starting defense, I presume, against Washington. Every day, Mike Brown looks more and more like an idiot for not paying Trey Hendrickson. I just wonder if there is a team out there willing to trade for Trey Hendrickson, who do you think would it be? Hello, Austin. How you doing? Collins says one of the Bengals O-line put their hands up when Joey Bosa was trying to buy time in the pocket. Austin asks, so Kyle, will you do recaps of the Dolphins games, or will Jaws still do those? And I do the streams. That's a good question. I'll have to ask Jaws about it. Because I believe Jaws still. I believe my dad still wants to do the recaps for the football games. Of course, starting in October, once hockey season starts back up, it might get a little complicated because my dad will have to focus on the hockey and I will be focusing on the football. So we'll just see what happens. What I do know is it seems time is actively slowing down the closer we get to actual football season. Colin says, honestly, the Lions or Ravens could make a bid at Trey Hendrickson, but mainly the Lions. Well, with how the Lions' defense was decimated by injuries last season, I am sure they would love to have a guy like Trey Hendrickson joined. So, so yeah, we are covering both Dolphins football and Panthers hockey this season, and hopefully we can hopefully we can get it all done without having to crash. Because football is relatively easy since it is the only a certain amount of games per week. It's I will be covering we will be live streaming the Dolphins game and any additional interesting games we can find between like Sunday or Monday night football. Am I happy about the Matthew Judon signing? Oh, sure. It just adds another proven linebacker to the already pretty strong linebacker room. And, the contract only goes up to $6 million, so it's not like a gross overpayment, from what I understand. So yeah, it is a shame because I thought we would have something interesting interesting to talk about if it were true that Asante Samuel was actually visiting the Dolphins. But apparently apparently my dad had heard something to the effect of the Dolphins would be saving money if they wait to sign a new corner until after the start of the football season, as in the amount of fully guaranteed money would not be as long. Do I think Quinn Ewers is better than Tua and Zach? Well, we just have not seen enough of him to determine that. I certainly don't believe he's better than Tua. Um, he might give Zach Wilson a run for his money, though. Thank you very much, Austin. That is very kind of you. So apparently, the big issue here with Asante Samuel Jr. is that he has a specific neck injury that he would have to be cleared from in order to be able to talk to teams, let alone sign with one. And if he has been cleared, the Dolphins would be far from the only team that would inquire about obtaining his services. Pacharo asks, Kyle, could we see more signings happen before the season starts? Well, yeah, like there's still joint practices with the Jaguars left. There's the last preseason game against the Jaguars. Guys could unfortunately get injured. We might have to make signings to replace any other pieces we might lose long term. The Dolphins, I have to assume, if Greer is not making the same stubborn mistake of saying, don't worry, insert team position here is fine, then either they really are okay with how the corners look, or they are going to sign a veteran. Because, let's be honest, the Dolphins' cornerback room probably could use a veteran. Asante Samuel Jr., Rasul Douglas. I don't see another blockbuster trade happening with the guys that are available in free agency. Austin says, I got Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl 60 against the Detroit Lions. Yeah. I think having both of those teams make the Super Bowl and play each other would break the universe. I will gladly accept any AFC champion that's not the Chiefs. Although, doesn't really have to be the Bills. Us Dolphins fans are supposed to have the deep-seated rivalry with the Bills. I certainly don't want the Patriots getting any bright ideas. Jameson says, hey, Kyle, how's your day going? It's going pretty good. Just sitting here, relaxed, trying to count down the seconds before football. And real football, not preseason where we have to see if Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson will be thrown into the fire in the event of another Tua concussion. So the SB Nation, on SB Nation, the Miami Dolphins community, the Finsider, they have an article here they have an article here trying to predict the 53-man roster. The 53-man roster. We are a week. We have a week until the 53-man roster cuts happen, so yeah, with the big thing with Asante Samuel is again he has a neck injury. He has a neck injury that he's recovering from, so there really isn't much that can be done until the doctors clear him to play. Austin says if the Chiefs are in it, AFC should blow up because if not now, then when? Yeah. I think one of my boldest takes I think for this year's NFL season is that someone other than the Chiefs is going to win the AFC West. I'm not sure if I'm going to exactly buy into the Raiders hype just yet, but I certainly believe that between the Chargers and the Broncos, one of those two teams is capable of beating Kansas City for division. The neck injury that Asante Samuel suffers from might be an injury that takes longer than was initially reported to be cleared. Jameson, yeah, the Raiders have hype because they actually have a quarterback and they have Ashton Genty. That's the big reason. Ashton Genty has given the Raiders fans quite a bit of optimism. And Geno Smith is not the most inspired choice for quarterback, but after throwing guys out there like Gardner Minshew and AOC, Geno Smith has to be a breath of fresh air. And he gets to reunite with his old coach in Pete Carroll. So, yeah, the biggest news we've got right now is the Matthew Judon signing and also Jake Bailey as punter. Is about it. Yeah, if I had to create a list of from what I understand, have been the most rather unusually hyped teams this year. I have seen people hyping up the Patriots as possibly returning to contention, the Raiders. I don't know how many of Jacksonville's issues that Travis Hunter can single-handedly fix, but he certainly has to help. And then this will be the first full season the Falcons have Michael Penix Jr. as their quarterback. And although I don't expect that the Buccaneers will lose the NFC South anytime soon, maybe the Falcons can get something together. So let's see. What do we have? Oh yeah, Joe Flacco was named the Browns starting quarterback at age 40. And then, of course, you have plenty of people saying that the Jets could be different now that they have Aaron Glenn as their coach. And you also have the Bears. The Bears who signed Ben Johnson as their head coach. Looking at all of the football teams, I will have to do a more in-depth investigation. You have to assume that the reigning Super Bowl champion Eagles will keep their NFC East crown. I would say the NFC North is still the Lions division to lose. The Buccaneers most likely should hang on to the NFC South if there's not a surprise surge from the Falcons or even the Panthers. Sorry, Saints. You ain't winning anything. NFC West. NFC West is one of the more intriguing divisions because the 49ers have a chance to retake it if they are not getting destroyed by a billion injuries. The Rams have remained solid for as long as Matthew Stafford stays solid. Although Matthew Stafford's lack of attendance at practice recently has given plenty of fans cause for concern. And then the Cardinals and Seahawks, I always picture like them being on the very bubble of contention. Although I don't know if either of them will exactly break out, especially since the Seahawks have decided to go with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback. The AFC West, if the Chargers don't win the division this year, then when will they win the division? I mean, the Chiefs are, AFC champions and all. But of all the teams that might take a downturn this season, I think it might be the Chiefs who end up as a wild card team. The Chiefs were blessed with such absolutely ridiculous good luck last season. Absolutely mediocre performances from the guys like Patrick Mahomes, and they found ways to pull wins out of their asses repeatedly. They were not in any sane worlds. That was not a 15-2 team. I believe that's the record they had last year. I only remember them twice. Once was against the Broncos. Once was against the Broncos when they were only playing backups. Is here. The AFC South probably still going to Houston, although the Jaguars might get a bit reinvigorated with the additions of Travis Hunter and Liam Cohen, and not having bulky saddle them with unnecessary mistakes. The AFC North, probably a fight to the death for the AFC North between the Ravens and Bengals. The Ravens probably will get it because their defense is not Swiss cheese. And finally, the AFC East. I mean, probably it's safe not to bet against the Bills at this point. It was very popular to predict the Jets or the Dolphins winning the division in recent years, but the Bills have just made all of those predictions. Made all those predictions about the Bills losing the division look like idiots. So I guess I would hand it to the Bills. Jameson says Cardinals could be surprisingly good. Cardinals could be surprisingly good or woefully bad. Depends on Kyler. Seahawks' young defensive core could take a big step. So yeah, it is seeming more and more like that about Asante Samuel Jr. visiting the Dolphins was it was nothing but hot air. So yeah, that is what we've got is Dolphins Twitter losing their minds because there was one report of Asante Samuel Jr. visiting the Dolphins, and there's been absolutely nothing to report that to confirm it. Austin says, thank God Eagles won. Yeah. As much as I would rather not have been made to root for the Eagles against the Chiefs, there's no other options. So, here's. I will go ahead and share this screen. It is the Finsider with the 53-man roster prediction. So offense, 25 players. Quarterbacks, 3, Tua Tagovailoa, Zach Wilson, Quinn Ewers, the rookie. No changes, none. No change, though Wilson is not exactly creating a lot of confidence in his role as the backup to Tagovailoa. Ewers looks like a rookie who needs to continue to develop, but he might challenge for the number 2 spot before the season is over. Running backs, 4. Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, Ollie Gordon, Alec Ingold, fullback. No changes. The big question here is the depth chart order. Gordon has looked effective, while Wright has not slammed the door on the rookie. Could Gordon be the primary option after Achane? Aaron Shampklin and Mike Boone are on the wrong side of the cut line. Even the Finsider agrees that Ollie Gordon might need to be bumped up to number 2. Wide receiver, 6. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington, Nick Westbrook-Ikine, Taj Washington, D. Eskridge. No change. The wide receivers are pretty static. Theo Weiss Jr. made a case during the game against the Lions to be a practice squad player or be added to the roster if Miami can find a spot for him. Eric Ezukanma, after so much potential over the last few years, seems to be on his way to the wrong side of the roster bubble and headed out of Miami. Tight ends, 4. Darren Waller, Tanner Connor, Pharaoh Brown, Julian Hill. Changes. Hill added to the roster. Oh, God. Please don't make us rely on Julian Hill in any capacity. Please, I'm begging you. I don't need the pain, the flashbacks. Oh, Julian Hill is hot garbage when you're not having him. He's a pass blocking tight end and not a very effective one at that. Our first change comes from a player who did not play. Hill gets added to the roster after sitting out the game, giving all appearances that he is potentially a roster lock and maybe the starter at the position. Waller is still not playing, so he may end up on the physically unable to perform list into the season, which would give back a roster spot. Please, for the love of God, Darren Waller, just start taking some snaps in practice. Jameson says Quinn Hughes is better than Quinn Ewers. I don't think there's much arguments there, Jameson. No real argument against what you said. Pacharo says, Kyle, there is a report of Miami maybe getting Cameron Dantzler. Who in the Sam Hell is Cameron Dantzler? Oh, here from James Larson. James Larson. The Miami Dolphins are signing USFL Showboats cornerback Cameron Dantzler. He was a standout at Memphis this past UFL season. Former Vikings third-round draft pick makes his way back to the NFL. So we picked up a guy from the spring leagues. So he's a cornerback, probably for a backup, not a starter. Have you seen the rate at which our starting corners have been dropping? Every corner we sign this offseason is a potential starter. So this report was also given by UFL analyst. So yeah, it just seems like another body to throw into the cornerback room. He was playing in the USFL. Yeah, he in his NFL career he played just 37 games and had 3 interceptions and 149 combined tackles. So yeah, this is a guy who hasn't even been in the NFL since 2023 when he played with the Saints. So yeah, another body to add to the corner back room and not much else. That's a so yeah, here it is. It's been confirmed by Miami. They have signed linebacker Matthew Judon and cornerback Cameron Dan Sr. They have also waived Tariq Black and Ryan Stonehouse. So instead of Asante Samuel Jr., it's Cameron Dantzler. Oh, that Bobby Schultz guy must be laughing his ass right about now. So yeah, so there it is. So Tariq Black did not make the. Tariq Black just got waived along with Ryan Stonehouse. So yeah, all Dolphins Twitter is going to be talking about how it's not Asante Samuel Jr. So offensive lineman, continuing with this. Offensive lineman Patrick Paul, Jonah Zavaiena, Aaron Brewer, James Daniels, Austin Jackson, Larry Borum, Keon Smith, Daniel Brunskill. Changes: remove Jermaine Ifedi, injured reserve. Remove Jackson Carman, adds Daniel Brunskill. Ifedi was added to the roster last week and is now on injured reserve, giving back the roster spot. Liam Eichenberg and Andrew Myers should both be on the roster, but they are both injured and there is no clear indication on when they will be back. They start on reserve lists in this projection. Brunskill replaces Carman on the roster, but that is not a locked-in position. The back end of the depth chart will be something to watch moving into the final preseason game, especially if Eichenberg and Meyer are still sidelined. I am tempted to remove Smith from this list and head into the season with just 7 active offensive linemen, knowing that I will have multiple options on the practice squad, likely including Smith, and that Eichenberg and Meyer will be available at some point. Smith played 100% of the snaps against the Lions, which is odd for a preseason game. Defense 25. Defensive linemen Zach Sealer, Benito Jones, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Matt Dickerson. None changes, none. I have no idea what to do with the defensive linemen and the linebackers, which are going to be an even bigger mess in just a minute. Zeke Biggers and Ben Stills should both be on the roster, but I do not have the space for them right now. They are on top of the roster bubble right now, and I want to find a way to get them onto the roster. Linebackers 9. Jalen Phillips, Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Dodson, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, Willie Gay Jr., Matthew Judon, KJ Britt, Quentin Bell. Changes: add Judon, remove Grayson Murphy. I hate the idea of cutting Murphy right now. He has played well and has earned a roster spot, but I am just out of positions. The signing of Judon was an interesting move for the Dolphins, but since nothing else seems to have shaken up the top of the depth chart, it makes sense for him to move onto the roster ahead of Murphy in claiming a roster spot. I still feel like Cameron Good lands on the roster as a special teamer somehow. I know a lot of people have mentioned Muhammad Kamara as someone I am forgetting on this projection, but I just do not see a spot for him on here, especially if the team is signing additional edge rushers. Cornerbacks. Storm Duck, Field, Mike Hilton, Jason Marshall, Ethan Bonner, who's injured, by the way, Jack Jones. Changes: none. Cam Smith is probably the bubble player for the cornerbacks with him on the wrong side right now. His roster position might come down to just how injured is Bonner, and will he miss playing time? The Dolphins could still make a move to shake up this group. Well, apparently signing Cameron Dantzler Sr. is the move right now. So would Cameron Dantzler instantly be getting a spot? So, safeties. Minka Fitzpatrick, Ashton Davis, Elijah Campbell, Ifatu Melifonwu, Dante Trader Jr. Add Trader, changes, add Trader, remove Patrick McMorris. Last week I moved Trader off the roster and added McMorris. This week I am switching them back. Davis's injury is a factor in either adding McMorris or another safety to the roster, or potentially using his roster spot to add a player at another position. Special teams. Punter Jake Bailey. This is somewhat of a surprise given the Dolphins signed Stonehouse this offseason and he appeared set to replace Bailey, but the incumbent did enough to earn his roster position and the Dolphins released Stonehouse. Jason Sanders, kicker, Joe Cardona. No, this second. Joe Cardona, long snapper. All right. So do any of you have any thoughts? Who are the Dolphins going to actually target a cornerback that people know the name of off the top of their head? So yeah, again, the Dolphins roster moves for today have been signing Matthew Judon and Cameron Dantzler Sr., and they waived Tariq Black and Ryan Stonehouse. So if you had to predict what will the Dolphins record? I think I could try being the optimist here. We beat the Colts in week 1. Beat the Patriots at home. We probably lose to Buffalo on Thursday night. Then win against the Jets. Then the Panthers game might be a close call, but I think we win that as well. So that means after the first 5 games, I would expect 4-1, maybe 3-2 if we drop one of the games to either the Patriots, Jets, or Panthers. Then the schedule gets a little tough. Chargers, that's a coin toss. It came down to the wire last time we played those guys. Browns should be a victory as long as Myles Garrett isn't allowed to terrorize Tua the whole time. Falcons at Falcons. It all depends on how Michael Penix Jr. looks. But given the Falcons' past history, I'm willing to possibly give this as a W for the Dolphins. Ravens, loss. Bills, loss. Commanders, probably another loss. Saints, one of the easiest wins on the schedule. At Jets will be difficult because we're heading into December and this is at New York, and you know how the Dolphins get in the cold. If it's unseasonably warm, win. If anything is on the line, it's probably a loss. Then we play at the Steelers. I'm actually thinking the Dolphins win that game. Versus Bengals, another coin flip. Versus Buccaneers, probably a loss. And then at the Patriots, that's a game in January, and it's at New England. But the Dolphins have routinely owned the Patriots in this time, so this could be the one of those times where the Dolphins actually win in the cold. Or it could be another coin flip. So yeah, there's the Dolphins news for today. Is we're we're not getting Asante Samuel Jr. We're getting Cameron Dantzler Sr. So yeah, if you, I'd love to hear from you guys. Which are your favorite NFL teams? I know, I know a few of you. I know a few of you do follow the NFL. So, Jameson, remind me who you root for in football. If you do actually root for an NFL team. Austin says my AFC playoff teams: Bills, Ravens, Texans, Chargers as division winners, and the wild cards being the Chiefs, Bengals, and Jaguars. The Jaguars being your surprise team. Yeah, I don't know if the Jaguars have enough to make it back into the playoffs. They were very terrible last year. Although Liam Cohen could turn things around. Jameson says Jaguars need a lot of things to go right to have a successful season this year. Yeah, and one of those things has to be one of those things has to be getting the Travis Hunter to truly become the Shohei Ohtani of football. Do I think Cameron Dantzler was only signed for one of our injuries? I don't know if it's specifically an injury signing. I think Cameron Dantzler is just another guy that they are signing to wrap up preseason. Certainly, the longer this drags out, the more it appears that the Dolphins really don't care about how their current cornerback room looks. Adonis says, "Hey Kyle, how you doing?" I'm doing all right, Adonis. I'm just sitting here talking about the Dolphins did make a couple of moves today. They waived Tariq Black and Stonehouse, the punter, who had seemingly been brought in to replace Jake Bailey as punter, but now Bailey is keeping his job. And then, of course, the Dolphins made the signing of Judon official, Matthew Judon. And they assigned a cornerback, Cameron Dantzler Sr., a guy who was drafted in the third round by the Vikings a few years ago and most recently was playing in the USFL. SoFlo says, Kyle, do you think an NFL big play wide receiver or an NHL scoring winner is more important to their team? Well, it's very different. It's hard to compare both of those because there's different leagues with different styles of play. You know, I think in the NHL, it's clearly more about a cohesive team being put out there, having the right lines, having them in sync, and shut down defense in the NHL. You know, you look at the teams that the Panthers defeated to on their way to the second straight Stanley Cup. You have teams like the Maple Leafs who invested so much money into high-end talent. You have the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl, and that all that high-end talent still cannot beat what essentially has become the strongest team in the NHL. Adonis says, "What do you think of the Giants this year? I'm pleased with what I've seen, but staying cautious as always." Giants. Well, your starting quarterback is Russell Wilson. For better or for worse. The Giants have Russell Wilson and they have Jameis Winston. Malik Neighbor should be good no matter who's throwing the ball to him. I don't know. There's just really not much that hypes me up about the Giants. They might end up with a better record than the Cowboys just because the Cowboys have been so hilariously run by Jerry Jones. Like, remind me, has Micah Parsons gotten paid yet? No. Why am I not surprised? When is the last day of waiving off players? The 53-man roster deadline. Give me a second. The 53-man roster deadline. All teams must reduce their roster to an initial 53 players by Tuesday, August 26th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So it is 1 week from now. So 1 week from now is when the 53-man roster deadline is. So every NFL team will be required to make the necessary cuts to have a 53-man roster by that point. And I'll just be interested if by that point the Dolphins will have made any more moves or not. So yeah, that's what we've got. That's what we've got is the Dolphins making a couple of small moves. The Matthew Judon signing is very intriguing as it adds another linebacker to that room. I just wonder how it will play out because the Dolphins still really don't have much in the way of proven reliable starting corners. The AFC East betting preview from ESPN. The Bills odds on favorite to take the division. According to ESPN bet, at minus 350, the Bills have the shortest odds of any division favorite. The New England Patriots, who went 4-13 last season and finished last in the division, have the second best odds at plus 550. Miami Dolphins plus 900 are the third choice, and the Jets plus 1800 pull up the rear. So ESPN bet seriously thinks that the Patriots have a better shot of winning the division than the Dolphins. I'm insulted, honestly. How about the Patriots try actually winning against the Dolphins? Now, if it comes back to bite me, the comments I just made, then, I'll stand corrected. Like, what sort of drugs are ESPN on where they have the Patriots with better division odds and better 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 playoff better playoff odds? Like, I get that New England got the coaching and personnel upgrades, Mike Vrabel, but your offensive play caller is Josh McDaniels. Just saying, Patriots. You got Stephon Diggs and Carlton Davis. Adonis says, Kyle, what Panther or Dolphin player ends a week with? Huh. I've never really given thought to a specific player I'd want to spend a week with. I don't know, it'd be pretty fun to hang out maybe with Matthew Kachuk's, since Matthew Kachuk seems like one of the most he's one of the biggest personalities on the Panthers for sure. Pacharo says that will only happen if Tua doesn't stay healthy for the whole season. Spaceman says, when I got back from New York, I flew over Amarant Bank Arena while landing. That's pretty cool. All right. I think that will I think that will just about do it for this afternoon. I want to thank every one of you who joins me, and thank you very much for listening to me ramble about Asante Samuel and Matthew Judon and Cameron Densler. I wish the Dolphins would start signing some more recognizable names for once. Jameson says, "Thanks, Kyle. Enjoy the rest of your evening." Yeah, it's only a couple more weeks. It's like what, 19 days until football. Please, I need football injected into my veins, please. Real football is almost upon us. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow again. Yeah. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for sticking around.